prior to
200 en el investment income.
1980.
Usan eso es lo que hace.
Prior to 1980, yeah. So from 1980 back,
Times.
there was a hodgepodge of
Mira,
depreciation systems.
Aquí está.
You could use straight line,
Eso es
you
lo
could
que
use
nos
accelerated depreciation, some of the years digits, whatever the accountants, when you had to study all those
Este
different
es lo hizo
methods,
el tutor.
whatever you want was fine with the IRS. Then the IRS didn't like it because everybody was using something different. They wanted to make it uniform. And so they came up with any property that was placed in service after 1980, so 1981, and before 1987, so 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, they came up with the ACRES system. That's Accelerated Cost Recovery System. Right? Accelerated Cost Recovery System. And that basically, they got to go back in history, and this is when Reagan came in, and remember we were paying 20% interest. Everything, inflation was going at 20%. We were in much trouble with the economy. And so in an effort to get people to get invested in the capital, they get rid of all those rules, and basically you could buy real estate and write it off in 15 years. But before, it was like 40 years. So now you can buy real estate and write it off over 15 years, all in an effort to try to stimulate the economy back in the early 80s. And that turned out to be too much of a good thing. And so they changed ACRES to MACRES, which is Modified Accelerated Cost Recovery System. And it's basically the same system, except the depreciation periods are longer. Right? So instead of doing commercial real estate over 15 years, right, it's now 39 years. And it took a while to get to where we are, but I'm not going to give you all through the various, but suffice it to say, there were the rates, the length of time depreciated has been changing to where we are today, which is what we're going to go over. And the system we use is the Modified Accelerated Cost Recovery System. So it doesn't matter what you've learned in accounting, this is the system that we're going to use for depreciation. The key is, the first thing we got to do is put all property except real estate. Real estate's going to have different rules. So all property except real estate has to fit into 6 recovery classes. Three, 5, 7, 10, 15, and 20. All right, so there are 6 recovery classes. We got to fit, no matter what kind of property we have, excluding real estate. I don't care if it's a calculator, a desk, or a petroleum pipeline, okay? It's got to fit into one of those 6 classes. A 3-year class, a 5-year class, a 7-year class, a 10-year, 15, or 20. It's got to be, you can't have an 8, okay? It's got to fit into one of those classes. The method of depreciating those classes for 3, 5, 7, and 10 is 200% declining balance. And if you're in a 15, or 20, the method is 150% declining balance. Don't worry about it, there's tables, right? I'm just giving you some stuff here that you can go to the next beer party and impress everybody. All right, so the accountants know all that means straight line, okay, in a nutshell, straight line. I depreciate it evenly, right, throughout the life. So if it's 5 years, it's 1/5 every year, right? 20%. 20% a year. 200% declining balance means I doubled the straight line life. So if it's 20, I deduct 40, right? But then the balance goes down, and so I'm taking large deductions at the beginning and smaller deductions at the end. In a nutshell, again, don't worry about it because the table's going to calculate all this for us. And 150% means I take the straight line rate times 1.5%. In these methods, there's an automatic, so we got these classes, there's an automatic switch to straight line. Because if you do double declining balance, since you're always, the balance is always declining, it never ends, right? It keeps going on and on and on. If under the tables, there's going to have a switch to straight line. The straight line is greater than the declining method, so that is we're over in 5 years. Again, the tables are going to calculate that for us. Right? So we're nice. Everything is nicely boxed into 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, or 20 recovery class. Right. Salvage value is disregarded. All right, no salvage value. Anybody know what salvage value is?
How much does things over a period of time, it becomes less and less over a period of time?
So remaining value that you could sell it for.
Yeah.
as opposed to
That's right,
issue.
yeah, the remaining value. So if I buy a computer and I pay $5,000 for it, and in 5 years, I can sell it for $300, right? Then I can't depreciate that $300 because I would be able to get back that $300. So if I pay 5 minus 3, I'm only going to be able to depreciate $4,700. Okay? For tax purposes, there is no such thing as salvage value. No salvage. Depreciate the whole cost. Okay? Zero salvage value. No salvage value.
In taxes, there's no such thing.
That's right.
In accounting, it is.
In accounting, there is. That's right. For financial statement purposes, yes. Right? But for tax purposes, there is no such thing as salvage value. Soon to be zero for everything. All right, so if you look at the handout, I'm going to explain each of these tables in a second here. So let's just go to table 3B301. Personal property half-year convention. And we're talking about, that's what we're talking about, all property. Now, real estate's got its own tables. All right, so we're talking about personal property half-year convention. We'll talk about that too. But there's our classes, right? 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, or 20. Can't be any other kind. You gotta pick one of these columns, right? Because these are the only recovery classes. And so what you would do is if I have 5-year property and in the first year I take the cost times 20%, and that's my depreciation. The second year, that cost times 32%. Third year, that cost times 19.2%. And you work your way down so that when you're dead, if you add up that column 5 years, that's 100%. So first year is 20, second year is 32, third year is 19, etc., right? And at the end, I have fully depreciated my, asset. I'm gonna come back to this in a second, why